What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And you see another face in the screen, another Baldy is in the screen with me today. In fact, our friend coming on is a Baldy too.
Baldies.
So we got three Baldies. Have Mr. Roger Dundas, co-founder and publisher of BuyBlacks.com, Black Canada's #1 online magazine, and I'm very happy to have him as part of this
Black
epic
Canadians.
4 Black Canadians. Yes.
Thank you. Gotta correct that one.
Okay, 4 Black Canadians. Well, you got the messaging right, and I didn't. So you're not going to dock me and pay my pay because of that, right?
Not today.
Well, and just Roger, if you want to just give a little intro, a little background on BuyBlacks.com, because many people may not know about it. So if you could just share about it, go ahead.
Actually, many people do not know about it because we're in this world of video, and a lot of people are not reading as much anymore. We're watching TikTok, guilty as well. TikTok, YouTube, Facebook Lives, etc. So anyway, my name is Roger Dundas. I'm one of the co-founders of BuyBlacks.com. It's an online magazine that tells Black Canadian stories written by Black Canadian writers. So it's a very unique perspective. We're covering everything from coast to coast, mostly focused on, of course, businesses, artists, entertainment, politicians, and issues that are affecting the Black Canadian community. So that's kind of our shtick. I'm also the managing director and one of the partners in Convo Media Inc., which is a marketing agency that focuses on providing digital marketing services in addition to publicity and social media strategy and execution. So we're doing, and media buys. So which ties in lovely with our guests.
With our
that is coming on shortly.
Absolutely. And really excited to be doing this conversation live. And if you're watching this live, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the whatever field you have available on the platform you're watching, and we'll respond to them as quickly as possible. So I always like to have new friends on the show. And this gentleman, I got to thank Roger right from the beginning, because Roger invited me to an event a few weeks ago called the Digital Day Camp.
It was a day camp for sure.
Yeah, I think it was. I know it was a day camp and then some. And Roger, how would you have described the day? What they talked about?
It's a forum for, I would say, digital marketing professionals. So that's really the audience that was there. In my opinion, everything to do with that ecosystem of advertising and promoting businesses online digitally. And it was such a just the thought leadership in the room, and the different companies that were there that sponsored the event, of outstanding companies, Fortune 500 companies, some independent companies like the one that Devon runs. But the information and the intelligence that was present in that day camp was just outstanding. The people that you were able to interact with, just from a networking perspective, and also the presenters and the information that they were decimating to us. The information was invaluable, and I think it's something that kudos to, I think his name is Rob Beeler, and his team for bringing this to Toronto. I think that was I could be mistaken, but I think that was the first time that.
Yeah, it was the first. Rob Beeler and David UK.
Right. So I think that was the first time that they were doing it in Toronto, and he had reached out to me weeks before about it and said, I definitely needed to come. He was having one in New York as well, and he had invited us to attend that one, but conflicting schedules So I was glad that he was able to come here to Toronto in our hometown to do it. What I did notice though is that there were not a lot of media. I think there was somebody from Toronto Star, Globe and Mail, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Was the Walrus there? I can't remember
I
if I
don't
saw
know. I
somebody
know
from Walrus.
you had a conversation with some representatives from the Globe and Mail, but I don't
Right.
know if many other media was there. Well, I was there. I'm media.
Yeah, so not a lot of representation from the media community, which was surprising because all of this advertising centers around, a lot of the agencies are looking for inventory and inventory by way of different media houses. So you'd imagine that that would have been something, but I think it's really more maybe Rob didn't connect with them early enough. I would say that would probably be the thing, and I'm hoping that the next time they do it, there'll be more representation.
Absolutely. Well, let's get down to it because we have a new friend that's going to be on the show today with us. And Roger had mentioned he did I call it a
Outstanding.
sharing session that
Yeah,
was, I'm still
interactive.
so, oh my gosh. And he told us even up to this morning, hey, they just told me to speak. So, but I just loved his style, the way he shared with the audience. And he, like right from the beginning, wanted the engagement that was really there. So before we bring him up, let's give a little introduction formally. So today we have Devon MacDonald on the Dr. Vibe show. He is president of Cairns Oneil, Canada's leading independent media agency. He has extensive experience in the media, technology, and creative industries and uses his background to help his clients and teams achieve their ambition. In 2022, for his work transforming the agency, he was named Media Leader of the Year by Strategy Magazine. Have to celebrate that. He has run companies and teams within some of the leading organizations across Canada. Prior to joining Cairns Oneil, Devon was the CEO at Mindshare Canada. Devon, he previously also founded the creative agency 360i in Canada and has held leadership roles in the technology world at companies like IBM. He is often called for his own opinions and predictions within the marketing industry and is frequently asked to judge award shows like Strategy, Agency of the Year, Young Lions, and the Shopper Innovation Awards. Outside of that, he volunteers for the West End Phoenix, is on the Capital Committee for the Quilt. I used to coach youth soccer, which I know Roger used to do.
As
And
well. Yeah.
yes, and is the recipient of the Queen's Golden Jubilee Medal. So let us welcome to the Dr. Vibe show stage, Mr. Devon MacDonald. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Vibe. Good morning, Roger. Good to see
Good
you both again.
morning.
Good,
Yes.
good morning. Good. How are things going this AM?
It's a great day. The rain has stopped, the sun is out, and there's a lot happening, which is my favorite way for a day to be.
Rain is a
Wonderful.
good thing for the gardeners like us. It's free water.
Free water, indeed.
Absolutely. Again, we'd like to thank you for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule to share with us and our family today. So, what I'd like to do is just first off, great bio that I read, but what other background? Where did you grow up? How did you get in this crazy world of advertising, media, and technology?
Sure. So, well, thank you again for having me. It was a pleasure to meet the both of you at Digital Day Camp.
Yes. Same
And
here.
Yeah,
you're right, there was a lot of more technically minded partners at that, and normally those events would have more media partners. But it was a good discussion, and I really enjoy meeting people and hearing what people have to say. And I'll say that's what I love about media is there is always something to learn. I grew up in the Toronto area. I went to school for politics in Ottawa, came back, went to school for computer programming, and started my career in the technology world. This was in the previous millennium, and I was a programmer that did database design and website design. I worked for a number of consulting firms, and I ran another company that helped people do that. And I recognized or realized that all of my clients were applying technology to sales and marketing. And so after traveling a lot, working for a company like IBM in their consulting group, and with my wife having her own career, I needed to get something more normal. So I joined the advertising world, and it is normal to itself, but very abnormal compared to IBM, that's for sure. I started working for creative agencies, working with them and teaching them and their clients about data strategy, about customer experience and customer journey, how all those pieces tie together, and how you can activate them. Along the way, I discovered these groups called media agencies. I didn't know they existed. And it was a strange phenomenon to me in the relationship in advertising where creativity calls the shots, and I think it's very important. But media always got the last 5 minutes of the presentation. But what I loved about media was all the information and innovation that happened. All the data points are within media, and that's really attractive to me. So I was running an agency in the creative world and enjoying that, but I left and joined the media world to learn about media and eventually running a large multinational agency in Canada where you're exposed to massive problems and massive data sets and massive opportunities. And I learned so much. I joined Cairns Oneil almost 2 years ago now, an independent agency, and have great partners, then great teams and clients that I get to work with on a daily basis to help them achieve their ambition and goals and figure out what we can do with media and technology to help their businesses and to help their clients themselves.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Roger, do you want to jump in? Because I've got a million things I want him to share, but like, and I know the
You know
time.
what?
Go ahead.
The one thing I was thinking about as you're doing the intro, is there a particular client focus that Cairns focuses on, like, CPG or tech or?
So within advertising, we're often siloed or isolated to a specific client within a specific category.
Right.
So for example, if I have a commercial insurance client, I cannot have another commercial insurance client.
Right.
And so we work across a broad range of clients
That's
from
great.
burritos to investments to insurance to drinks to whatever. And what is great about that is you get to learn about so many different businesses and so many different structures and apply things back to other businesses or other industries about how consumers work or regulations work. But the consistency is the media and the technology behind it.
Yeah.
I would say we do specialize as an independent agency in the way that advertising is structured, and that we work with brands who operate with autonomy. And those are often Canadian owned or privately owned companies in Canada that have their own scale or make their own decisions in Canada. A lot of clients work with great global organizations that have global contracts. So we work with local clients in Canada and in the US with their Canadian-based clients that do work in the US. So our specialty would be clients with autonomy in Canada.
Lovely. So not having to worry about shareholders, in other words,
Well,
on the public
sometimes you have
market.
to worry about owners
Oh,
and stock prices, but they all have their own ambition, and I look at our job as a way to help them fulfill that ambition.
Nice. Well, speaking about clients, during your sharing with the audience at the Digital Day Camp, you shared an incredible story about how you implemented Chat GPT with one of your clients. And I know we don't have enough time to really go into, but could you just share the story behind that? Because I'm still fascinated. Like I was gonna say, man, I need to steal that deck. I know I'll never get it, but I need to steal that deck. But can you just share with our audience that journey? Because I think even if you're not into advertising, there's a lot to learn from what you and your wonderful team did with that opportunity.
yeah.
Sure. If it gets too technical and someone asks a question in the comments, please feel free.
No problem.
But I'll start in the way that a lot of advertising is distributed, which is via something called programmatic advertising. Now, Roger and his site would would probably have some inventory that's bought direct by partners
Yep.
and may have some open inventory available on an exchange to partners.
Yep.
We work with those exchanges a lot and using data signals from our clients and from what is left of the open web, we're able to identify ideal targets for our clients based on audiences on different sites. It's very common, and it's a very efficient and automated way of delivering targeted advertising or relevant advertising to specific audiences. Now, within programmatic advertising, there's another capability called dynamic creative optimization. And what that would do is look at an ad unit and say, okay, which one is performing best? Is it one with the gray background, the orange background, or the starry sky background? And they would change it. And based on whatever one is performing better, they would say, we're going to run with this one. We want the most effective. We discovered, though, some limitations within that. And because it's the number of iterations and copy or colors that you can have to go into to build those ad units, it can be difficult to build. And so we had an idea about how to leverage the good things about ChatGPT and to integrate it within programmatic and dynamic creative optimization. So we got an instance of ChatGPT. We isolated it from the open web. We taught it about our client, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And we gave it a brief to talk about different themes around the client and around this work they were doing. And we let it write the headlines. We then take those headlines and put them into the ad units, put them out through the programmatic distribution channels on different networks, and watched what happened. And the results were fantastic. The campaign is in market still. It ends in a few days. I'm looking at the calendar. And we're thrilled with this. Our client, Rakic and Kobo. Kobo is a leading e-reader company that believes in technology and innovation as a way to deliver better reading experiences to people. And so we approached them with this opportunity to say, we want to try this. We're not sure if it will work. We think it will, and we think it can provide a real competitive advantage to you. And it has. It's been working quite well. The campaign is doing exceptionally well, and we're just thrilled for their partnership, and also the partnership of our ad tech partner, Adform, who we briefed with this crazy idea with our teams, and they have the engineering power and vision to help connect those pieces together for us. So it's a real triumvirate of work between the agency, the client, and the technical partner to make it happen.
Wow. So were you the person who came up with the original idea to let's give a go at this?
Yeah, I was. But I had very little to do with the work. So the teams that did the work, including the clients and the ad partners, deserve all the credit. But I was thinking about ChatGPT and my technical background, and my innate curiosity. I read a lot and learn as much as I can and try to imagine how two things can come together. And I hadn't seen an execution or heard of how ChatGPT could be leveraged in media and could be integrated into media. But I knew it could create content, and I knew we could deliver content. And to me, ChatGPT is just an output, and dynamic creative optimization just needs an input. That's all I thought about. And that's as far as I got. And I talked to my team about that and explained my idea or vision about how it could work. And they had a solution up and running and a client that was ready to go in a couple of weeks.
So question, and deciding the client, was that the first client you approached, or was that, did it take some clients to say, okay, well, we're ready to run with this?
Yeah, we talked to someone else first, who was a new client, who is doing a lot of work with technology and a lot of good steps in building their business. But they were unsure and ultimately didn't move forward with it because they were concerned about what ChatGPT could do and wanted to have more safety controls in place around the messaging. And that is fine. It is not all technology and not all media are for all companies, whether that's social media or TV or artificial intelligence. You have to have a match between your brand and the work to make it make sense. And so then in approaching Rakuten Kobo, I think they got back to us in 37 seconds and said, yes, we'll figure something out. So
Wow.
it was a good sign.
Roger, you want to come on in for a sec?
I've been thinking about the fact that so you said that you establish your own instance of Chat GPT, so you're not using the version that's on the web. So you wanted to ensure that nobody had your information that you're feeding it.
Getting some feedback.
Yes, is that me?
Okay.
Yeah.
No. Okay, go ahead.
So
Devon.
yeah, so ChatGPT is one of the what's called large language models.
Right.
And so what it does, it takes a snapshot from the internet of a moment in time and connects it all together, essentially. Think of your brain and all you've learned in your life and how you draw on different parts of your brain to learn different things or to express things in different ways. Even the way I'm speaking now, I'm pulling from a set of information. ChatGPT set bit of information is something from like the current version. I think it's from November 2022. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong and someone knows, please tell me. And so we have to take it and teach it about what we're talking about these new products we have, about these new values that we want to talk about in these new ways. It's a very common technique being done right now in the medical world, for example, where they don't want research information to go out, and so they pull an instance up and teach it about that. Ours is, while it's corporately sensitive, just as important to teach it on our own.
What were there any hiccups along the way in order to get in the journey to the finished product? I see the smile on your
I don't know how many there were, but I know there was a ton.
Wow.
And it's about getting two systems that are completely different to talk to each other. It's called an API, and how to get that output to go to the input and go together. It's difficult when you do something first. Think about how you recharge your phone. Roger, you could have an Apple charger. Dr. Vibe, you could have an Android phone. Yes, you have a charger. Yes, you have a phone, but they don't work together, and you have to figure it out to get them to work together. The same thing happens in data connections all the time. And then understanding the format or the length or the complexity of what ChatGPT would give us, and working and learning about the prompts that we could give it to help it give us the output that we were looking for that would be suitable for advertising. So there was a lot. I was shielded from a lot of them, but again, our partners at Adform, the clients and my teams here did an amazing job in figuring those things out. And that is the hard thing about doing something first. There is no roadmap.
So how can you ensure that the data sets that you use to train, what you fed it, are fair and balanced? Like, how can you mitigate any bias, let's say, because you're trying to get information to a mass audience. So how do you prevent that bias from, in the generation of the actual ad itself?
Yeah, a great question. Because there certainly exists within the snapshot of the internet and within society today a tremendous amount of bias,
Of course.
a tremendous amount of misinformation,
Yep.
and it is just a snapshot of what the internet has. And I say just a snapshot; the amount of data is
Yes,
stunning.
tremendous. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has a pre-existing bias of whatever that is. It
Mhm.
could be that the client's competitor is the best, or it could be that a product we have maybe is not. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what the instances of what exactly it would say, but that's the part of training it and teaching it about our product and about our brief to it to say, here's what this is. We please know this to be true. And doing it, like with any advertisement, when you do that, you have to make sure that you're being truthful. You have to make sure you're not making any unwarranted claims, and you have to make sure that you can back up what you have. That happens in any ad. So it's the same process and same work for us there and in doing that.
Hmm.
So I remember at the end of your session, a gentleman who was with us, who's not with us today, Charles Matthews, he had this question. He said, "Okay, Devon, just me and you. No, there's no one else here. What was a better experience, using the Chat GPT or using an agency?" And your answer was like rapid fire back. So I'd like to hear that answer, how quickly you gave that answer.
Well, in this case, the work at the scale and performance that came from ChatGPT completely outperformed the base set of work that we had in that came from the client's internal team. And I think ChatGPT is perfect for this sort of execution of we gave it a brief, we asked to create a lot of versions, and we took what it gave us. Doing iterations is a great way to use that tool. Coming up with original ideas is hard for ChatGPT to do. Coming up with territories or coming up with uh, new thoughts, it's not designed to do that. It's a playback of what exists today. And
Mm.
so I credit the original teams from the client in coming up in identifying the value propositions for the new products and coming up with the ideas for the spring. They came up with the imagery and the color sets and the original territories to explore and the original headlines. Chat GPT just took that and multiplied it by 100x in terms of what it could do and what it could put out. So its ability to efficiently, quickly, automated to produce automated content in this setup is something I've never seen before, and would be very difficult for a human team to replicate. Very difficult.
It's interesting. Recently, I asked a team member of mine to write an article for me, and I gave her some information, some base information about what it is I want to speak about. And in doing it, she actually went and used not Chat GPT, but a different AI tool. But then it's funny because when I read the article as I was proofreading, I'm like, wow, this seems very what's the term? Well, generic. That was one thing. So it didn't have my voice, so to speak. So she was my ghostwriter, and it seemed very generic. And then I asked her because I didn't know at the time when I got the actual article, I didn't know that it was. But I had to ask, I said, "Did you use a tool to write this article?" And she said, "Yes." So what I found, I think you made this comment as well, that some of the information was very, it wasn't human enough. It was really just spit back of some generic information that wasn't really detailed to the client. So I guess the question is, do you think that these AI systems will really enhance and augment the human creativity side of things?
Well, I think in your example, I think it's a great way to start. in a
Yes.
case like that.
Yeah.
And to get out the first rough draft and
Yeah.
the main points you need to make in talking about the color orange or whatever you want to talk about. I think it's great for that. But it does not understand as well as you would tone, style, personality. You could teach it. And if there was a lot of references to you online, it could understand you. If I wanted to talk in the voice of the Prime Minister, it would be able to do that as an example. Because there's enough information out there for it to draw on. And then its ability to get the starting rough draft and then the volume, the speed of it is unmatched, and it's something that has never been done before.
That's a good point, because I want to know then, and I think this is something that some people are worried about, how we can control the data about ourselves that is used to train the AI, because it seems as if you're tracking all this information, browsing history, etc., friend group, this physical location. So, what do you think are the implications for this mass surveillance?
Yeah, I think
Invasion
those
of privacy
implications are
concerns, etc.
yeah. Yeah. I think ChatGPT adds a new dynamic to privacy around identity and impersonation. This comes up in the music industry already. This has
Yeah, I
come up
saw
in
that.
political videos already,
Yeah.
where let alone the legal issues around copyright and ownership. But this is an identity infringement. Overall, digital marketing, particularly in Canada or in Europe, Europe would be the starting point. Canada is improving dramatically. There are good safeguards in place around individual privacy and data protection on the internet, and there is more coming. Law 25 in Quebec uh, is in place, and fines are being implemented in September, and there will be a Canadian framework coming out soon, where it changes the ownership of your data or what you put online to what would be with your user terms and agreements to the site you visited back into consumer control and giving them more access. Think of the work that Canada did around email 15 years ago. That's
Mm-hmm.
coming to online. The major concern, though, there will be bad actors. There will be people who are looking to exploit these systems. And regulation is required for artificial intelligence and the use of these models.
Yeah.
And it needs to start
All right.
soon to protect people, to protect their identities, to protect their rights to assets and their likeness.
Excellent. We're at just a little over halfway point of this great conversation with Devon MacDonald, President Cairns Oneil. We have a comment here from Mark Lewis saying, AI bias will impact every industry. Important discussion. So, how concerned are you at this point of AI, Devon, in regards to bias and how potentially not good it could be in regards to the area of bias?
Yeah, I'm very concerned. I've been concerned about this for a while. I've been studying and looking into ethics and programming for a number of years as the data sets and core decisions that any systems make are built on any bias that someone who made them may have. Those exist, whether that's a filling out a form or asking for a story to be written. Bias exists. And artificial intelligence has the ability to amplify that bias and to make it worse.
Mm.
And there's two components to that. One, it's drawing from the internet and what exists on there already. And two, the structures of which it's designed and how it makes decisions to understand what is more prominent or what is more relevant to the answer. That's within the systems. And I take solace in knowing that they are hyper aware or claim to be hyper aware about it and are trying to do stuff with it. I had a great chance to speak and to talk to and to hear from an ethicist from Microsoft talking about this, and their level of awareness around this is very high, and they recognize the damage it could do if these biases continue within these new systems that are more powerful than 12 months ago. We didn't think we would be able to do this, and here we are.
I want to go back to. Oh, that's an echo. I want to go back to the presentation that you made and thinking about the work that was done in advance of preparing information, taking the instance, feeding the ChatGPT, and then as opposed to the work that would have been done with the agency. Would you say it was the same amount of time, or the time itself was cut down considerably by going the route that you took?
Yeah. So there's two important steps there. The first step, in which is the same amount of time, is the work that we had to go through with ourselves, with the client, to get the campaign up and running.
Right.
That's the same amount of time.
Okay.
Briefing, budgeting, channel selection, audience mix, launch dates, original assets. That's the same amount of time.
Right.
I'll distinguish with the second set of time, though, which was the ability to have iterations of the ad units, to optimize them for creative effectiveness, and to update the system. That was, once the connections were made between the two systems, that is instantaneous and would be incredibly difficult to match this. It would be impossible to match the speed of the creation of the assets, the optimization of their delivery, and the measurement of their effectiveness. That is a tremendous advancement in automation, and a real benefit to the client and to the work that we're doing.
I really wish that you could have showed some of the output that you showed on at Digital Day Camp, just to have people kind of understand the scale of the information that was delivered by the tool. We were, to be honest with you, I was just fascinated, because the thing is, I'm thinking just from the agency perspective, if we had gone out to, I know you're very familiar, working with a designer to create the mock-ups, and it would have taken so much time and so much money to create those iterations, right? So
if you think about 10 sort of ad sizes of different dimensions, and then 10 versions of that based on headlines.
Wow.
That's 100 ads to make.
Wow.
And that's very basic for a system like that.
Yeah.
And so the time to your point, to go through with a designer and whatnot to have those all assembled is lengthy.
It's interesting too that the critics of AI will say that AI is displacing work for humans and all that. And it seems similar to when the computer was just introduced. If you
the computer was supposed to get us to a 4-day work week. The computer was supposed to do everything. Nothing has changed. The work week is the same.
Yeah.
Our output is higher. And I understand the concerns for people, and if there's people who are art directors on this call or listening, I'm sure they're concerned. But the opportunity is in the efficiency through automation. 100%. And the computer facilitates that. Cell phone facilitates that. Every technology, well, I don't believe technology solves problems, just in general. They add capability or amplify problems.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is adding ability to this. But if we have, we're adding ability into the system and automation into the system.
There was this guy that was in the audience that I remember, the guy that used to work with the newspaper, and he would drive for an hour with the with the copy set to meet with a client, and then have the client approve it, and then drive back and get it edited. These days, you share something in wherever, email, Google Drive, Dropbox, whatever, and the person reviews it in a second, and they're giving you the response immediately. So I think people need to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. The time to go through and read something and review something is the same, but the exchange of information is instantaneous. And that's the real opportunity.
Yeah. It's similar. Sorry.
Go ahead, Roger.
It's somewhat similar to digital currency and the way how, back in the day, you'd give somebody a check and then they would have to wait until the check cleared from the bank. Now you're doing direct deposit and the money is instant. It just increases the efficiency of the whole accounting, system as well too. Think about it like that. I'm just saying this to people who are listening to this conversation thinking, oh my God, this thing is coming from my job. No, it will help you if used properly. It will help you to do your job better.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to flip the conversation a little bit because there was a gentleman that I invited to join us, Mario Armstrong. He couldn't make it, but he did send some questions about to Devon. And so they're not AI based, but they're very important in regards to agencies and things like that. So we're going to spend the remaining part of the conversation answering Mario's questions. So Mario, we wish you were here, but you are here. So the first question that he had is, in terms of your agency or agencies that you've worked for, just the landscape out there, hiring influencers, who's most often driving that decision? Is it the agency or the brand asking for it?
It's a good question. And influencers as a media outlet or marketing opportunity, of course, have been on a tremendous rise and have tremendous power because of their ability to tell genuine, authentic stories on behalf of brands or in speaking about a cause or issue. And it's the authenticity that's so important. From an agency, so it can come from both. So from an agency perspective, when assessing a brand's challenges or a specific opportunity that's coming up, influencers could often be considered as a way to help tell a story and to help with distribution of a message. From a brand perspective, they may be attracted to the idea of having a celebrity or of having all the way down to a nano or micro influencer to help tell their story as well, but from a different lens. And so what we are looking for in assessing the challenge and the opportunity to work with influencers is, do we have an original, authentic story to tell, and do we need help? Do we need help telling that story?
Okay, Roger, do you want to add anything? Any additional question? I can move on to Mario's next question.
You know what? One of the things. So we work with a lot of influencers when we're doing we do a Buy Blacks Restaurant Week, twice per year in the spring and fall, and it's great because you're seeing Black Canadian influencers and they're talking about food, which is very unique to them, and they understand their food and all that. But I wonder at a point that it just doesn't get to the point where people don't buy into a celebrity getting paid to say that this thing is great. Versus somebody that's actually not being paid, that just like somebody who went somewhere, they have a big following and say, hey, I went to this place, like what's his name again, DJ Khaled came to Toronto and he went to Chubby's and he said, oh, this food was amazing. Chubby's was not paying him to say that, but it was a big boost to them. Right. So that's more believable than the person that we know. And, you're looking on Instagram and it says sponsored content. And I'm like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
Right?
So a couple things there, Roger. It's a very good point. One, the reason influencers as an industry are so prominent is within human nature, we trust the opinions of the people we know more than the people we don't know.
True.
And whether
Mhm.
that's family or friends or whatnot. If I want to go to a great place for chicken and I've never eaten chicken before, I'd ask my friend who I know loves chicken and say, where should I go? And
Right.
they would tell me, you do this every day in your everyday life. And in the way that people lead digital lives and we rely on digital for content and for entertainment, we feel like we know people like DJ Khaled or Mr. Beast or Dr. Vibe. We feel like we know them because we
I
hear
don't
so
know.
much from them.
That's the first time I've been put in the same sentence as DJ Khaled. I'm gonna have to keep that clip. Go on,
Yeah.
And Mr. Beast, by the way, who is
Mr.
one of the
Beast.
most influential
Yes,
people on YouTube, I believe.
Yeah.
yes.
You're on the podium. You're on the podium.
Okay. All right. Thank
But
you.
people develop a relationship because you speak to them authentically and they understand you, and so they feel like you're getting a recommendation from a friend. What has happened in the influencer space, though, is that it's become oversaturated.
Yes.
And if DJ Khaled next week got hired by Popeyes, and the weekend after that by Mary Brown's, and the weekend after that by Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatnot, no one would believe him.
That's right.
It wouldn't be genuine. It wouldn't be authentic. And it's a real flag for agencies and for brands and for agencies as we go through and work with influencing network companies or with influencers directly. Yeah, we look to see what they've said before and who they've done work with before. And it's part of why there's a huge trend of something called de-influencing,
Oh,
where it's a backlash against influencers, where people genuinely go and review something and say, you know what? Actually, this new iPhone is a ripoff. And they're not paid by Apple. They don't, they get no money for it. What they get is genuine, they're able to deliver genuine content to their listeners or viewers or readers,
yeah.
and they're able to develop trust. How they monetize that, I don't know. They're
That's the thing.
developing an audience.
Yeah.
That is the thing.
But
Monetization.
it's become very commercial driven, and the demand from influencers and the pace of which they're turning over with brands are too high.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can get one or two more questions of Mayo in because we're coming to the top of the hour, and I know your time is precious. And I think you hit a bit of this in the last few comments you made. On the agency side, what are specific things you look for when hiring influencers?
Sure. Number one is brand fit. We need to understand the values of the person, go through and make sure they haven't said anything bad about the brand in the past. Make sure that they don't have
You
any
mean that's happened
skeletons.
before? That's happened before?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's everything we say, including this discussion, is now in ChatGPT or the next iteration of it. So it's going to live forever. And so brands have a long memory, and so does the internet. Um, and so first thing is for brand fit on the positive nature. Okay, let's make sure their values aligned, and let's make sure there's nothing bad in the past. Let's make sure they didn't work with a competitor in the last year or months.
Mm,
Um, let's make sure their audience, they have a good relationship with their audience. They have a scale that is suitable to us, and suitable could be millions, suitable could be hundreds. It
right.
depends on what you're looking for.
Mhm.
And then what kind of stories do they tell? On Rakuten Kobo, we use influencers regularly to talk about their love of reading and discovery. And some of the content that is made is fantastic. And ChatGPT will never be able to make content like that tells an authentic original story.
Mhm.
But the influencers can, because it really comes from the heart and it comes from their values. And it's the most important part.
They may be using Chat GPT to generate that value, that content.
It wouldn't be able to. People will try, and there
Right.
are artificial influencers,
Wow.
and there is AI influencer content out there already, whether it's in a blog or whether it's in a video. It exists. I wouldn't deploy that for our clients.
Okay. I think you may have gone over this, but what's one red flag with influence that you look out for? I think you highlighted some of them in your previous comments.
Yeah. So there's two. Um, so sorry, but first is a brand safety lens,
Mm-hmm.
and that goes back to the values. And different brands want different things. Different brands want to associate themselves with different influencers. But brand safety is the first step, because it's very difficult for a brand to provide trust to an individual to speak about their product or brand in the way that they want. These are very carefully planned out and strategically led initiatives. And that was part of our challenge with ChatGPT, as I mentioned at the beginning, where a client didn't feel the brand safety was there. Client one, client two did. The second thing is turning over brand partnerships too often or having multiple things going on. If their timeline is filled with previous sponsored posts that they do something new every 3 days or whatnot, that's not good. That's not a good experience for their community, and not a good experience for their brand, for our brands, or for most brands.
Right.
It would be something that would eliminate them immediately.
Okay. One last question from Mario, and we'll probably use for a little bit more time to cover anything else. Where is brand spending leaning towards the most? I know every client has different needs, but on average, where is the spend leaning toward the most these days?
So this is a 3-hour conversation.
Well, okay, so what we'll do later on in the year, we'll have
We'll
Mary
do out of 2 hours.
at 2 hours, and if we can get 2 hours of your time, I'm gonna send that email in the next few days. Wendy have 2 hours, and we just talk about
No,
this question. We'll
this
bring him on too.
no this is for the next digital day camp. This needs to be
Okay.
the this needs to be the
Well,
first session where the
Yes.
panelists
yeah.
go up there, and this should be the conversation, because
Yes.
please, I'd love to hear this answer from you.
Yeah. So overall, because of privacy, because of consumer awareness and education, I think we're in a very new phase of digital marketing and of advertising. Digital advertising and marketing for the last 15 years has been dominated by data signals and data interactions from media platforms and consumers. But again, privacy and education lets us have discussions like this and lets us understand about bias and tracking and whatnot. So there's been a dramatic shift in what a audience or consumer will accept from a brand. And that has led to two major, and whether that's the elimination of cookies or how your iPhone doesn't connect to your Facebook anymore, or opting out of emails.
Mhm.
And so that leads us to two major areas where brand spending is going. The first major area is brand building. And this is something that went away a lot during the performance heavy times. But in a media ecosystem where there are tens of thousands of sites and hundreds of millions of placements, building a brand and showcasing your values through actions and through consistent messaging is priority number one,
Mhm.
and where money is shifting to. Priority two is shifting then into the privacy first, consumer first, data integration work that needs to happen within a company to be compliant and to be acceptable with consumers. And so back to Digital Day Camp and all the tech partners that were there,
Yep.
people who work with clean rooms, people who work with customer data platforms or CDPs, people who work with programmatic, are coming up to a new reality about how you can effectively and properly convey brand values through digital advertising. And it's a whole new empowerment of consumers and in how performance media works and will work for the future. That is where the money is going, and it's a very important shift. And the clients that are first in planning out those infrastructure capabilities and planning out those data capabilities are the ones that will be successful.
Can you
Wow.
just explain for the audience what the clean room concept is?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have data sets from buyblacks.com and you have data sets from Kobo and you have data sets from a research company, they're all in different formats and shapes, and they're all in different languages. And so the clean room normalizes all those data pieces, which meaning so they all look the same, but keeping them unique at the same time to protect the privacy of people.
Right.
And a clean room makes all those connections. That used to be called big data,
Gotcha.
okay,
Right.
which was 2 data sets coming together, maybe
Right.
3. But this is multiple data sets in a single instance that's privacy first, doesn't identify consumers in a secure environment.
So
And it's an important piece of infrastructure.
so you have data on, let's say, 1 million people, but it doesn't have the person's name, address, email, or anything. It just identifies, okay, like on this all, there's 3 bald men aged 40 or older. Right?
2 with glasses.
2 with glasses, right? So those are some of the unique characteristics that would be highlight the uniqueness that you speak of.
Yeah, maybe not bald, maybe not glasses, but our interests.
Right.
Sites we've looked at before.
Where's glasses?
Allowable, trackable behavior, or
Right.
any interaction that I might have had with a brand as Kobo, it would know what reader I would have or what titles I've downloaded, as an example.
Right.
Wow.
Awesome.
Well, we're coming up to the top of the hour, and I know, Devon, your time is tight, but you know what? I could listen to you all day because for me, you've given me great education on this space. Roger's a lot more knowledge. You have a lot more knowledge, Roger, than myself, but the way you present it makes me understand it and gives me clarity.
Yeah. That's what I found with the presentation. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we like that presentation so much, because it was relatable.
Yeah. The clarity.
Because like Charles, he is not as savvy. I'll use that term. No disrespect intended to Charles, but it's just an education thing, right? So you presented the information in such a way that it was easy for him to, I think it was easy for anybody in the room to understand what was happening.
So Devon, do you have any final words for us today before we let you go?
Well, I just want to say thank you. I enjoyed the discussion as well.
Yeah.
I was thrilled to have met the both of you and your other colleague a couple of weeks ago. And the thing I would say is that there is a lot of complexity in this space. But if you have guiding principles for your company or for yourself or for your clients, the decisions are easy about what you should or shouldn't do. And just stick to them and everything will be fine.
Excellent. Is there ways that people can get in touch with you? Should they go to the Cairns Oneil website or LinkedIn?
LinkedIn's probably the best. They can go to the website. There's the website and LinkedIn. All my social platforms, I just use my first name and last name. So I kept it easy. But just like Dr. Vibe.
There you go.
One and the same.
Well,
But yeah, feel free to reach out. Happy to talk with any of the audience members, and I really appreciate the time, gentlemen.
Well, we appreciate it too, and I'm going to put this request out there a few months down the line. We'll have a conversation about that last question, make it an hour-long conversation about that. And if there's anything Roger or myself can help you with, you have my contact information already. I'll certainly share it on the back channel with you also. We're here to help you win.
Great. Thank you very much. It was great to meet you both.
Have a great day. Take care.
Take care. Wow. Cool. I just did my 1 hour of CPD. continuing professional development. Wow.
What for me, it's a 6 months. I can just watch this over and over again for
Yep.
6 months.
But
Roger, do you have any takeaways from the conversation?
Yeah, you know what though, that last question is really the question, right? Because it's important for brands, not only brands, but also for media, people with websites with inventory where agencies can advertise, right?
Mhm.
To know that that's where they are headed and that's the type of information that they're looking for. So for example, when I say to people that, you need a website that has SSL, and they're like, what? Come on, if somebody's going to be going on your site to trade and enter their credit card, they need to make sure that the thing is secure. So security, your privacy, right? Very, very important. And as he said, people need to, this was the part that the two things, the brand building, which I know that's something that BuyBlacks had to kind of step back from and start to redo it, right? And with the consistency and the partners and who you're engaging with. And the second part, of course, is the privacy and the consumer first approach to
That
be
was
compliant.
good. That was
right?
solid.
So,
yeah.
you have to be focused on the client's privacy.
Okay. Well, we'll close it off here. You can watch replays of this show and many others of the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, or on my website, www.thedrvibeshow.com. Roger, where can they find BuyBlacks?
BuyBlacks at BuyBlacks. Most
There you go.
social media channels.
BuyBlacks.com.
Yeah, BuyBlacks.com. It's
All
it's open. We don't have a paywall, so anybody can go on and read every article for free. No paywall.
Wonderful. So just a few last things. If you are up to it, please like the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button so you get notified about great conversations like this. And like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you want to get in touch with me, there's my website, email, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show, Twitter at DRVIBESHOW, and Instagram at the DRVIBESHOW. And if you would like to promote your business or service on the show, get in contact with me. So as we close out, I always say at all the end of my epic conversations, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Look at AI, family. It's coming. Either you're going to
it's not coming. It's
here. It's here. And don't be left behind. All right. Be well and keep the faith. God bless. Yeah.